Hi everyone, I'm Kathleen. Today we're going to make one of my favorite new soups. It's a potato leek soup with added vegetables. So it's so easy and it's delicious. So come on over. We're going to start with half a sweet onion, yellow onion, and 4 cloves of garlic that's minced. So I pressed some garlic and I've just had that sauteing in some water or some veggie broth. And today I'm going to use this Trader Joe's organic vegetable broth. It is oil-free, and most of the flavor is going to come just from the vegetables in the broth. And then the next thing we're going to do, there is a lot of chopping involved, but it's easy chopping, is the star of the soup are these leeks. So leeks, in my opinion, are just like large green onions. So if you're an onion fan, scallion fan, I think you're going to really enjoy these leeks. So want to just, of course, cut off the ends. Now the thing is that I usually take off the first layer, and I'll show you why, because there's usually some dirt in there. Yeah, a little vitamin B12 might not be so bad. And rinse it with some filtered water. You know, there's still going to be, you have to kind of keep your eye out because the layers can have dirt. I thought I had peeled that one first. Let's check this. Yeah, this one's not so bad. I took off the real tough layer first, but there's still some dirt in there. Now I don't cut all the way up because this gets very tough and stocky. So I definitely want to cut the ends off. And then you can just cut 2, 3, you can cut all 4 together at the same time. And you want to slice them thin, like I've done. And this is, you know, where, in my opinion, most of the flavor is going to come from, because there's not going to be any added spices unless you want some. And of course, always feel free to make it your own and leave me a comment if you did and what you added or subtracted to make it taste better for you. Now I'm starting to see some more, hello, stuff in there, so we want to clean this out. We actually pretty much got that one, but I'm going to take off the outer coating altogether on this one. Sometimes they're fairly clean. This one had a lot of good stuff. All right, so we'll just finish that off. And now, so you can kind of even hear, I'm gonna stop there. I can hear my knife is getting tougher. So we're gonna add it to the pot and let that saute. I'm gonna add in just a little splash here. In a minute, I'm gonna add the whole thing. We'll just get that going, bump up the heat, and chop up some more veggies. Whoops, I felt like I just saw a little bit of dirt, but hopefully that's up. Let me grab that, sorry. Oh, it's not too bad, right? One of the reasons vegans are supposed to take B12 is because animals eat things out of the dirt. So an animal has B12 in it, not naturally, but because of its diet, you know, foraging in the forest and stuff, and the trees and the grass and the dirt. So they get B12 from the soil because B12 is in the soil. And since most of the time humans scrub their veggies, we don't get the B12, but with the leeks, you might get a little bit. Okay, so we're gonna get that going. Then you're gonna take 4 medium-sized white Yukon potatoes, and we've already cut these up into nice small pieces. This soup, we're not gonna blend it. We're gonna leave it chunky. So I just cut it in half, cut my half in half, and then cut it into small pieces. And you can even cut them smaller than that. All right. Or you can cut it all lengthwise and make them a little bit smaller. There, that might be a little better. Okay, I'm gonna bump up the heat here. Get these going a little bit more. And I'm gonna let that simmer for a few more minutes. Let me move on to the last 2 vegetables. We're gonna add carrots and celery, if you prefer. I love these 2 vegetables. If you don't, you can omit them. Let's see, we'll start with our carrots. So I've peeled them, rinsed them. Just gonna cut off the ends And anytime you cut things a little thinner, they will cook faster instead of large chunks. Get a sharp knife and a good cutting board. 3 might be pushing it. I'll do 2 because that one's so big. All right, one more. Lots of fiber, beta carotene. Eat plants. That is where all the fiber is, because animal products have 0 fiber. So there's more of a tendency, clog the arteries, colon, raise your blood pressure, raise cholesterol. So try to focus on eating as many plants as possible. And the celery, just gonna chop these ends off. Looking a little sad. All right, slice these thin. I love the flavor of celery, so I'm always adding it into cooked dishes when I can. I'll let that go. Okay, so we're gonna add our potatoes. Again, 4 cloves of garlic, lots of garlic. And now we have 4 leeks and 4 potatoes. And those potatoes do turn brown fast once you've peeled them, so don't peel them too far in advance. Okay, and I'm gonna add the broth here in a second. So let's just go ahead, because it's just gonna be one big pot cooking together. Okay, and the Trader Joe's broth that has lots of spices in it already. Not too spicy, but it does have flavor. Because again, I'm not gonna add any spices. But I am gonna add a tablespoon of Bragg's. So Bragg's liquid amino is made from soybeans. It has no gluten in it. So it's a soy sauce alternative. Now I'm gonna do a tablespoon of Bragg's. You could do 2. You can start with 1 and always add. And I'm not adding any salt because the broth has salt and the Bragg's has sodium, but I may add it at the end. I'm gonna just first taste it and see how it goes. So I may add a little bit of water to cover this, but usually once things start cooking and mush down, it all works great. And again, we're not gonna blend this, so we want it a little chunky. So I'm gonna start with this, and I'm gonna cook it probably, 25, maybe even 30 minutes once it gets going here. And I'll come back and test it and see how it's doing. So I'll see you in a bit. Okay, we're back. So come on in and see the soup. We accidentally overcooked it a little bit, so it's a little bit mushy. So keep an eye on it till your potatoes are fork tender. It's very hot. And you can for sure add more Bragg's. You could add a little half a teaspoon of salt, whatever you like. I did a little taste test and it seemed pretty great the way it is. And you can add more or less of any of the veggies. But it's quite delicious. It's obviously super healthy because there's no oil, there's no fat, just maybe traces from veggies. And of course, 0 cholesterol, because plants have 0 cholesterol. So thanks for joining me. Let me know what you think of this soup. And as always, thanks for saving animals with your food choices. Have a great week.